We're gonna go. Ready? No. I don't. Hi, everyone. We are live here from South by Southwest. This is our first LinkedIn. This is my first LinkedIn Live. Have you guys done this before?
It's my first LinkedIn.
Okay, so you guys
I'm
are
a
gonna.
pro.
Yeah.
I do it for the self-care and see, that's all.
You guys are gonna
I've done
see
it
us do this in real time. So I'm James. Everyone say hi.
Carrie, dementia darling.
Hey, it's Kyle with Rendeavor.
Nicole will gather.
Patti with Lorenzo's house.
So we've been here at South by Southwest since Friday. We came into town. We're here at this house, also called the Care Sanctuary, where we've had a couple of really cool events with people coming through. So we're gonna do a full LinkedIn Live on Friday where we recap like every single thing that we did. And we're ending with Lorenzo's house film premiere today. Woo! What's a premiere for us? You've shown it.
Like, I'm a little familiar with
Yes,
it.
you are. So today, we're going to be together for about half an hour before we get to that film premiere. So I want to talk a little bit about what this experience has been like so far. I've had so many thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start with a big one, big kind of almost philosophical question, of course. As we were planning for this to come to South by Southwest, I think we all had an idea of what the intentions were going to be for this weekend. I'm curious now that we've gone through the experience, what do you feel like the actual purpose of it was? 'Cause I think it changed a little bit as we went.
I think so too.
What do you guys think?
I had so many reflections about how we are in this space, right? And it's not our usual environment.
Mhm.
And the people that we've met, the conversations that we've had, you could tell there was not a lot of awareness around caregiving. Some people
Totally.
didn't know
Yeah.
what that meant, dementia. And we are all talking and having conversation with people a lot of time. And there was also more of a negative reaction
Right.
when we asked some
Yeah.
questions. And that surprised me. And
Mm.
the language that we use that we might think is more acceptable in our world,
Mhm.
that language isn't familiar to people every day. And
Yeah.
so having to adjust and explain that, it was really interesting.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
just the word aging.
Right.
And we asked the one question, what was it about?
What are you
What are you looking
What are
for?
What are you
forward
looking
to?
forward to about aging? And he said absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I don't want to age. And I was like, I'm sorry to tell you, we're all aging at this moment.
Every
Right here,
day.
right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think, going to the question about, we knew what the intention was, like, let's
Mhm.
bring the work of what we do and conversations into the mainstream, which we've done. I feel like, what do you feel like what the purpose of our time was, given that reflection,
Mhm.
that people may be a little bit more uncomfortable?
I feel like the work that we started this weekend is really just starting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? Like, as an industry in aging services, we talk about the need for change. We talk about like the looming boom, and we talk about so much opportunity to do things differently. I don't think we do things differently quickly enough versus in an environment like South by Southwest. We have film premieres, we have tech showcases, we have arts, we have music, we have so much happening that's all designed around these like annual cultural moments that are kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I think in order to actually get to the place where our industry changes, we need to acknowledge the fact that while everything else is changing, everybody's starting to turn towards, we do need these services more and more, it's putting the pressure on. And I think from, someone who sits not only on the services side, but also on the tech side, I've been like really eager to see the change start. And going into this weekend and coming out of it and looking to the future, I think like the only way to make that really happen on a scale that gets past our bubble is to make sure that the right voices get elevated and the right people go out and start these conversations. And I think that's what you guys all are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patti, what surprised you about this weekend?
I think for me, the big piece was around the purpose of having these conversations outside of the typical spaces that we're in, like Nicole said, but really opening it up to the right voices. So leaning in on people who are walking this journey as care partners, leaning in on this journey of talking to people who are affected by dementia, and really allowing that voice to be the voice that guides our mission, and to really reflect deeply on the language that we use is thoughtful and kind and caring, but maybe isn't accurately describing the experience.
Yeah.
And so the power of just leaning in and listening and starting to open up that conversation is going to inform my purpose and my practice and what I am going to do tomorrow in my role at Lorenzo's house moving forward.
Yeah. Watching, Carrie and Patti in particular talk to caregivers like in real time. And I thought about our tagline is unconditional joy at Bella Groves, which, it's a very serious topic for the majority of the world. We know what it means. We know what our aspirations are. But as I saw you talking with the person on the couch who had her husband here with us, you spent about an hour and a half with her. And then the whole time I was looking at y'all, just kind of watching the conversation, thinking, joy feels like such an inappropriate word to even use in context of this conversation.
For sure. Yeah. And how do we find those moments, right? And the moment that came out of that was this idea around connection, right? And the power of meeting people where they are at in wherever they are in the journey. And if they're identifying the journey as a dumpster fire, how do we meet them there, but then support them in finding one moment of unconditional joy, or one moment? Our tagline at Lorenzo's house is we bring light. And part of that is that we're bringing light and awareness to the fact that people have this diagnosis before the age of 65. But it's also really making sure we're super intentional about what we mean by that, and how can it think about it as a moment as opposed to the condition is full of light and joy.
Yeah. Our weekend was full of like these like finger snap moments, right? Like, that's so good. Yeah.
Well, and being present in, obviously South by brings people from all over, and being able to pop up here in a city and open it up to the public and to the extension of families and people that are walking this road. We had people say, I heard about you on social media, or I read something and I wanted to have personal conversation, and I appreciate the work that you do. And we just created time and space to be able to really have those intentional conversations. And that was so meaningful to me, to know that you don't know who's listening, and you don't know who's watching, and then to put a face to, we share information, but to have it be then so personal and have conversation, it made me realize what other work are we doing where we're in environments that we actually open it up to people to have public conversation and discourse and learn, like you were saying.
There's so many people that, for those of us who put content out there, and actually a lot of people who are probably watching now or will rewatch later have had the question, why share content? And in particular, we can talk about LinkedIn. This is streaming on LinkedIn. And I think our colleagues have found some value in that. But I think people are sleeping on like care influencers and, social media. And to your point, people found out about us because they follow you guys. Yeah. Carrie, what was kind of your either surprising or what have you enjoyed the most about this weekend?
Surprising or enjoyed?
Because it could be different.
They're just
She
two
wasn't
things.
expecting to enjoy it.
I just wanted to also go off of what Nicole said, because my driving force from day one with Dementia Darling was to combat isolation for caregivers. And I do that on social media, but I've always wanted to do it in real life for people, but I haven't had the opportunity to do that really yet. And this is like that vision for me, but I think it also showed me how hard it is to find the people that need me. And I'm like, how do I find them? How do I find them where they're at?
Totally.
Maybe they don't know what they're stepping into. Maybe they don't even have the words for how to search for me. So how do we find them? And I know that's big with all of our work. How do we find who we need to serve? And just being on the street, you find people, but it's like, that's not
Do you need help?
literally, but that's not a business model. I can't go in Vegas every day and be like, who needs help? So that's been eye-opening to me, like how it's harder than I thought to get people to come together in community, in person.
In person.
It can be really hard.
And the courage it takes someone to identify that they maybe need support. And then the courage to show up or reach out to someone. Like, that is so hard. You're already walking this journey that has so many different pieces, but then to self-identify that maybe I need some extra support takes a lot of courage and bravery. So how do we also dismantle the stigma around that as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I felt like I was so proud of everyone who walked in, and I was talking to you. I think that like, I don't even know if I would have had the like bravery to go to something like that. Like, what's the care sanctuary? Like, and like, I could see maybe if it was someone I follow and I'm like really passionate, I wanted to like meet them. But a lot of people just were just like, I don't know these people, I'm going to come. And that's beautiful. And that is brave.
It was so great. And I think the format of this, of like, we saw a handful of people at a time. You know, at one point we were kind of one-on-one with everybody. And, you know, the traditional stuff of what we do at senior living conferences is like, we see hundreds, if not thousands of our peers and we talk, but how much more meaningful was it to just talk to one person, like on the couch or on the patio, and like hear their story. You guys remember Sean from last night? You know, she's at first I thought she was like a professional in the field, because like her energy was just kind of like, I felt like one of us. And then as I started talking to her, I was like, oh, you're a caregiver. Your mom's currently living with Alzheimer's. And like, I just asked her the question, what does our profession not understand about caregivers? And she was like, there's so many different things. But I mean, one of the big takeaways from my conversation with her was that, you know, you guys weren't the place I went to like get resources and find out about dementia. How do I talk to my family about it? And she's like, you were a resource at the end, you know, when I needed placement and all of that. But she said that's what you guys get wrong.
Right.
You know, like, you guys aren't the source of information.
Yeah. Well, an extension of that, she is extensive in her caregiving and how she learns. Her loved one has lived in a community, lives in a community. And she went to a caregiver conference in Austin last week. Her loved one has been in a community for many years, but she feels the need to really dive into social media and to learn about caregiving, to learn about dementia. And yet her loved one's in a community. And that is I'm always like, wow, there's so many people that feel they're in that place and that are in that place, even though we assume that, oh, you're in a community,
you're fine,
you're
now,
okay,
right?
we've got it covered. Yet she heavily was like, I want resource, I need information, I want to feel supported. And so that's just another depth of, how are we doing that? Are we asking the question? Are we having those conversations?
And I think a conversation that happens in this industry so much is like, how do we make sure that we're getting and finding these people and having these conversations earlier?
Right.
And like, I saw that a lot when we were doing Darlene on the Street, which I love. I think it was a good example. We had that conversation, that regroup afterwards, where we were like, are we using the right language? Are we asking the right questions? And there was like a little part of me that was like, I feel like this is a good example of how sometimes we get in our own way, right? Because we all know, what's the stats? Like every 53 seconds, someone's diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease. Right. So there are a lot of people, literally every minute, who are starting their journey, who don't have the trauma, who don't have like the weight of everything. And like, how do we find them earlier? I think we have to shift how we talk about it and the spaces that we exist in.
I don't want to bring up controversy, but Kyle has so many friends named Nicole.
Oh, right? It's hard to keep track.
It's getting confusing.
No favorites.
I thought you were the only Nicole in Kyle's life, but it's a good segue
Me too. No
into
kidding.
the amazing people we've met that are like in, not necessarily in our industry. Like, so when I say industry, I personally mean senior living, but you know, broadening that out, aging services, people who might not even identify as being in the space per se, but meeting Nicole, meeting Nikki. Seriously, he's got too many Nicoles in his life.
They're all the best.
I was the tallest.
You were the tallest, yes.
Gotta be known for something.
But how cool was it to meet and talk to people? I wouldn't have met some of these people. They're not on LinkedIn with me, or I wouldn't have gone to conferences with them. So what was that like for you guys, running into the two Nicoles and Dennis and Brenda and some of these other folks we saw?
I'm so encouraged. You know, what I've realized, and even in the work with the podcast, is that I naturally am a connector, and I think about how can I have these introductions, but only to amplify what we're all doing in the support systems, right? Nicole with her company, Spring Rose.
Spring Rose, yeah.
And I had thought of so many applications in the work that I wish that I would have had to have the adaptability to for undergarments, to just understand that there are so many people doing work that are solving real problems that we could easily incorporate into the work that we're doing and sharing and alleviating some of those challenges that we face. And so thinking outside of our narrow lens, but saying, what can we brainstorm and do to make introductions, to work with other people, to be creative, to alleviate some of those burdens that people have, I think is where I would love for us to all go further. And we noticed that in those conversations.
I like that. And like in the spirit of getting out of our own way, like how do we make this industry more accessible? Right? There's no reason that should have been your first time meeting Nicole.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there's so many products, like there were so many products that sponsored the events yesterday and that we got to introduce, and like all of those should be available. And I think you all know so many products that should be available no matter what community that you're in.
Right.
How do we get out of our own way and bring them in?
And how do we get them in the hands of the people that really need them? How do we get them in the hands of a caregiver who is doing everything that they can to support their person and provide the dignity? I mean, all I think about when I thought about Spring Rose was like how that beautiful that would have been for my mom and for my dad, and that would have allowed him to be a better carer and for her to have the dignity that she wanted. So how do we then take all of these learnings and then get them in the hands of the people who are doing the work every single day?
Yeah. And just for a little context or for people watching, so Spring Rose, I think the way she described it is adaptive clothing for people with mobility challenges. Is that
Undergarments specifically,
undergarments. But yeah, I mean, we're standing outside of the restaurant, and she whips out the bra with the magnets, and it looks like we're doing a drug deal, but we're just kind of like, this is really interesting.
So cool.
And it's really cool. At dinner, Kyle's birthday dinner.
I know.
Happy
birthday.
Happy birthday, Kyle.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Start singing, please.
So we met your other friend. Her name's escaping me. 30 under 30.
Cindy.
Yeah. I was going to say, I
Cindy.
fangirled. I couldn't believe I got to meet her.
I know.
Yeah, this is like 30 minutes into the dinner too.
Yeah.
Like, that's you?
Like
Yeah.
I met her company a year ago and her co-founder and like fell in love with Next Stride. It's just such a beautiful safety device, honestly, to help people walk that are living with Parkinson's or anything that, you know, could affect their mobility. And it is such a beautiful innovation that is life-changing, I think, for people. And we know falls are such an issue. So it just, I was on fire for that product. And to just be like sitting next to Forbes 30 under 30, who like I'm obsessed with her company and didn't know. And I'm like, oh, no big deal. This is wild. And she was so lovely and amazing. And it's like, who else do we not know that we need to be? We need to be in community together 100%. Our industry is unlike any other industry. We have to work together. We are not against each other. We have to be together. There are too many people that need us.
Right.
And if we're all trying to fix things alone, we're never going to be able to help people. That's why we're sitting at this table. And I want other people around this table next time. We need everyone together.
Right.
Yeah.
Same team.
Same team.
That's what I'm talking
Exactly.
about. You know, actually, I'm sitting next to a 30 under 30, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
We were at dinner. We're like, look at this table.
I
It's
know.
like
It was
so
such
cool. But
such
we all
lovely
had such
people.
different, you know, things we're championing and to just come together. Yeah. It's really
I know like 30 minutes flies by. You know, we got, I think, 10 minutes or
10,
so.
10.
Before we. Carrie's like,
A lot of the Red House bracelets.
We do.
we met amazing people. We made 1,000 bracelets or so. Well, actually,
Not
I
that
mean,
many.
I made
She
4, I'm pretty
wishes.
sure.
I feel like it was
She
about
was.
25.
That was hyperbolic for sure. But we were making bracelets for hours, and we only got like 20 done, and Patti got like 50 done at that same time.
Patty's a pro.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do, so we're going to recap all of the details on Friday. So we're going to do another LinkedIn Live. It'll be an hour long. We'll talk about, you know, dementia, darling on the street. And Patti got to talk to a lot of people as well on Saturday. We have the Care Sanctuary here twice yesterday. We got to see Kyle speak at South by Southwest officially on the panel. That was so cool.
Oh, that was so cool.
So inspiring.
I want to
Mind
talk about it.
blown.
I want to talk about
I
it now, but
know.
we're gonna tease it for Friday.
Oh, okay,
We're gonna tease
okay.
it for Friday because there's so much we gotta think about, and then also we have to get to the film premiere today, and we're ending on that note.
Mhm.
So with the 10 minutes we have here, I'd love to hear from everybody about what are your thoughts, because one of the intentions of this again was let's show our colleagues, let's show our profession what it might look like to try new things. This is our first time doing it.
Mhm.
Came together pretty well, guys. Well done.
We did it. Pulled it
Yeah,
off.
I mean, good people, you know.
Mhm.
But the intention was, okay, what was the purpose of this? What do people who are watching on LinkedIn right now, who hear talk about, those 5 were at South by Southwest, what can they learn from our experience here, right? So that's either the final question for what can our industry learn from our experience here, or if you want to pick a different question, what would you want to do next time if we came back? Right?
Can I start?
Yeah.
Take the risk. Be brave and do something different. We've been doing the same things, and I'm sorry, like I felt like for a couple of years, I've been going to senior living conferences, and it's never like, oh, this is new. Like I'm seeing new things and ideas and differences here, and we need to shake it up. We need to do things like this. We need to just think of how to make this more attractive. I don't know. We have to talk about aging, and we have to talk about these services.
Yeah.
So how can we level it up to open this, how we're doing, to the general public? How can we make this just a normal part of life and invite, for senior living conferences, why don't we have seniors at these that we're talking to? Why don't we have the care partners at our conferences? Why aren't we speaking to the people we serve? And so if it means that I go to a conference for senior living and then I take my time to go do Darling on the Street to get that from me, then that's what I'll do in different cities.
Yeah.
But we have to push the narrative of what we've been doing, because I'm sorry, it's not working.
For sure.
And it's just getting harder and harder to support the people that need us.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you said we have to speak to the people that we serve. And I would extend that to we have to listen.
Exactly.
Thank
We
you.
have to
Yes.
invite them in so we can
Exactly.
listen and
See that at
hear.
the table.
And even, when we were having conversations on the street, when we asked questions, everyone had a perspective and a story and something that affected them. They didn't maybe have the right language. There's no even right language, right? Like I'm even challenged myself in terms of how am I showing up for people? How are we creating space for conversation? And to your point, be brave, do something different. We've never done this. And it was the learning of we're just going to go for it and put ourselves in situations and maybe be uncomfortable at times. And that's okay. You don't have growth unless you do something you've never done
I was
before.
going to say, I'm out in front of the camera all
Yeah.
the time, and I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You guys could, I was very upfront about that. I had a very hard time, and you were probably like, "Oh, Carrie's got this," and I was like, "No," because it's different when you're in person,
Totally.
and then I overthink because we are talking about heavy things, and so you kind of wonder, am I going to push someone away from wanting to learn?
Yeah.
Totally.
Just because of a word I use.
But you're
Yeah.
so good and you're so
I
in
know.
tune, and you're like,
Oh yeah,
I
can
just
feel
feel like
that.
we can trust ourselves to navigate those
Exactly.
conversations.
Yeah.
really good point about it's so intimate when it's not posting on LinkedIn or recording a video and sharing it on Instagram. It's so intimate when you actually have to get over that nerve and talk to somebody. And there were a lot of moments that we felt in when we were sitting in it, let's not record this. Right?
Yeah.
This isn't a content play. Let's and I think Patti, you were the one who really reminded me of that too, of content's incidental. If we get content, it'll be in this format of we can
Totally.
debrief and be respectful of the conversations we had. But I think being able to have the courage of the intimacy of
Exactly.
conversations, so
Yeah.
important.
Well, and both of you spoke to this, the importance of the diversity of voices. I mean, even personally for me, right, given that the work that I do is for families affected by younger onset dementia, right, which are people before the age of 65 who do not identify as part of the aging community
Right, exactly.
in many ways. So I was like, where is my piece as a daughter of this condition and as someone who is supporting families? And so how do we make sure that we have a diversity of voices in all of our conversations? And to your point, we lean in and listen and elevate the lived experience to the forefront of everything that we do.
Yeah, I love that. You know, Carrie, as you were talking about your reflection and needing to change, I thought that was a really practical tip also, because like none of us want senior living conferences to go away. It's just they're so important for us. And you know, as we meet people who are running these events, I think they're having the same questions about how do we evolve this, right? And this is part of the intent. I love the idea of just have the exact same conference, but bring more people that aren't in our profession. I love that. So easy, low hanging fruit.
And it's worth it because I can't remember the last time I went to a senior living conference where I got chills this many times. All weekend. All weekend. And that's why people show up to do this work. It's because we have the head and the heart. And if we're ignoring the heart and we're ignoring the people that we're serving, we're not really doing our jobs.
I love that we know each other's taglines, by the way, and we just you know,
we do.
We bring light, you know, to everything that we do.
Cheat code on bracelets.
There's a lot of
So, do you have any final reflections or?
I actually feel like in the light of the day, can we end on a final note? Can you share a little about Lorenzo's House?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Lorenzo's House is a nonprofit organization that supports families that are affected by younger onset dementia, but we are specifically focused on supporting the sons and daughters. Families that are affected by younger onset dementia are often misdiagnosed, they're undiagnosed, they're unseen, and they don't know another person in their community that is walking that journey. And that was made very clear to me yesterday through the conversations that I had. So how can we start to dismantle the stigma so that people feel more comfortable talking about it and having these conversations, but also how can we heal in community and then really advocate for dementia justice and really a world that sees families affected by younger onset dementia in a more kind and compassionate and empathetic way.
Beautiful.
If you are curious what that QR code is right there on the corner, it is a link to
It's really far away.
It's really far away. The QR code, take a look at it. We're helping. This intention of being here is also to shine a light here on our friends at Lorenzo's House. We're trying to raise a little bit of money for them. So if you feel so inclined, do it. If you'd like to be involved in future pop-ups, let us know as well.
Take 0.1% of your conference budget and donate it right now. That's your call to action. 0.1%.
Love that. Love that.
Sure.
And I also want to say thank you. There were companies that donated product and giveaway and coupon codes that we will be gifting to our families. And so thank you for partnering with us and believing in what we were doing when we made the ask of what is this? What's happening? And to trust us. So we're super grateful for
and
that.
the caregivers that received the information, I mean, there were so many people taking pictures. They received some handouts and goodie bag to go. There was so much joy and this feeling like they have this support walking away from this space. So thank you so much.
And Rendeavor for being a huge support and this
Kyle and
is
Rendeavor
possible for us.
You really also took the leap of like, let's do this. Let's get it done.
Yeah, you were the first to say, I'll be brave.
Right.
Took us under your wing with you. So thank you.
Thank you.
So Patti, Nicole number 1, Kyle, darling, and myself, James. I've always respected you guys. I feel like love, is an appropriate way to kind of talk about this experience too. So that's my final takeaway is that, find people who are aligned with you, not just in your work, not just in your purpose, but we call it like-hearted people, right? Because we don't all think the same, but we all are moving in the same direction. So find your like-hearted people, take some risks, get out there, support causes, talk to caregivers, and do stuff like this. Guys, we got to get to our film premiere. Thank you for joining today. Come back with us on Friday at 12 Central, and we will see you there where we recap everything from South by Southwest. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye.